Why did Call of Duty Vanguard Zombies fail? Now, there's a variety of reasons why it failed, but in order to understand all that, we gotta go back to Cold War. Cold War was a rousing success. Launch, more people were playing it than ever before. Multiplayer streamers were playing zombies. That wasn't really something that happened all too often. It is really interesting to see how the zombies community was then and how it is now. But Cold War was a success. It experimented, it wasn't afraid to experiment, and that is where it thrived because the casuals were not excluded. In BO3, BO4, maybe a bit of BO2 even, the casuals were kind of forgotten about. And I myself am no casual. I have been playing this for 10 years. I've done nearly every Easter egg. I am not a casual, but Cold War was phenomenal to me. And I'm a hardcore guy. But Cold War really helped everyone. It was helpful to the casuals, it was helpful to the hardcore guys who just needed a break from the complexity that was BO4. But Cold War did so much right. It absolutely did so much right. And Vanguard Vanguard just couldn't match up because Cold War experimented so much and brought us to a really nice point where the zombies community was genuinely excited for what was in store next. And Forsaken had a damn good ending. Everyone was excited. Vanguard was announced. We knew Treyarch was working on it for a while now, so we had full faith. We had no reason not to believe that this wasn't going to be a banger. And then launch came. Launch of Vanguard came, and all the big streamers were disappointed. Now they do influence a lot of people's opinions, but I think it's just everyone could agree that Vanguard Zombies was just not what we needed it to be. It was boring, it was buggy, it was lackluster, it was just soulless. Soulless is the best way to put it. There was no life. Everything felt so bland and bleak. It was just unenjoyable. And it took everything Cold War did right and just kind of forgot about it. Outbreak was a huge experiment for Cold War, and it thrived. More people were playing Outbreak than anyone's that ever played Zombies. That is a fact from Treyarch themselves. And I think that's so interesting that their experiment, what they wanted to do so long ago, an open world zombies thing, which was transit at the time, they didn't get what they wanted. It was very buggy because of the limitations. And they got a second chance. And the second chance was successful. Outbreak in Cold War was absolutely fantastic. And in Vanguard, it just didn't match up. Nothing matched up in Vanguard. The guns were heavily unbalanced. You only really needed to use one gun. There was no wonder weapon. The map itself was just so dark and bleak. Radios were around, but no one cared. No one had any reason to care. But Vanguard had a lot of problems. And the problem that included not enough time. Treyarch was working on it for about a year. They had to work on this and Cold War at the same time. so they had split teams. And I think that's just terrible. I think that you need to focus on one thing, make it as good as you possibly can, and then move on to something else. But Activision saw where Sledgehammer was going. Seems like they weren't happy. They asked Treyarch to pretty much just take over the game. They pretty much took over everything except for campaign. And Vanguard was a rousing failure. It's one of the least selling CODs ever. And I think it's a shame because zombies could have been really cool. The guns themselves, they're cool. They just don't do anything. And they released a main quest and they released a new map. And they released round based for it, but after launch, there was nothing saving it. After the horrific launch, there was nothing saving it. There was no pause option for solo games until weeks ago. We're in 2022 in April, and we didn't get a pause button until weeks ago. Vanguard was just unfinished. Treyarch didn't have the time. If Treyarch did have the time, they would have made a banger. We know that. But it's that Treyarch didn't have the time nor the resources. They had to adapt to a whole new engine. It was horrific. Vanguard Zombies is horrific, and it's a shame because Cold War really, really hit the mark. Cold War made everyone happy. There were droughts of content, but nothing like this. Nothing even close to this. Vanguard Zombies failed. And it failed because Treyarch didn't have the time. They didn't have the resources. There were separate teams. They weren't working all together to make the product the best it very can be. Vanguard's launch was just as bad as BO4's launch. There were so many bugs, no pause option. There was no content. It's boring. It's bleak. It's soulless. Soulless is the key right now to describe Vanguard. I have no reason to care. The story is interesting, but not enough to hook me in. Cold War's finale left me wanting more. And this isn't the more that we want. We want a continuation of what we just saw. Now, Treyarch worked their ass off, but at the end of the day, a bad product's a bad product, no matter the reason for it. And there are some good reasons for this product not being good, but it's still a bad product. It's the worst zombies experience we'll ever see. But I do think that they will learn from this, and they will release their next Call of Duty better than ever. I truly believe that the next zombies experience we get in 2024 will redeem everything that we had to endure in Vanguard.